Hello and welcome to Centre Court. Thanks to Cobram Estate, Australia's most awarded extra virgin olive oil, grown, harvested and first cold pressed in Northern Victoria. Here at Centre Court, we take a deeper look at the athletes, coaches and the voices who define netball in Australia. The conversation unfolds in four quarters, giving our guests room to share who they are away from netball, the highs and lows of their career and the future they're building towards beyond the court. It's honest, it's reflective, and it's the side of the game you don't always get to see. Today's guest is no stranger to the big lights. She's a Commonwealth Games gold and silver medalist, a World Cup champion, and a back-to-back ANZ Championship winner. She's represented the Firebirds and Collingwood and earned 60 test caps for the Australian Diamonds. I speak of none other than Kim Ravaillion. Kim, amazing to have you in the chair. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We're going to touch on so many things today, but we start every episode by asking our guests a simple question. Thanks to Priceline Pharmacy, we know health and beauty. What season of life are you in right now?
Gosh, I'm in my mum season. My daughter's just started school, primary school. She's in prep. So yeah, I'm in full mum mode.
Full mum mode, away from netball, and we'll get to all of that. But the first quarter is all about finding out who you are off the court. So a day in the life of Kim Rav at the moment, what does it look like?
A day in the life. So I'm currently working as a player development manager with the Melbourne Football Club AFLW team. So that takes up most of my time. Along with that, obviously being a mum to my beautiful daughter, Georgie. So doing that, so school drop-off is full in swing, and then trying to balance both work and life, and the juggle of it all is kind of what I'm doing now that I'm not playing netball.
How do you keep the balance of work, life, mum, everything that you're doing? Is there something that has put you in good stead? Has netball helped you with the balance of your life?
Definitely. I think definitely being a professional athlete has helped me kind of shape my life now. So, you know, all around balance. So that work-life balance and kind of what I'm doing now in my role as a player development manager working with the AFLW girls is, making sure that they do have that balance. So it's important to me to make sure that I'm prioritizing my daughter, but also making sure I have enough time to make sure that I'm fully committed and 100% energized and ready to go at work. So you don't always get it right. I never always get it right, but I'm doing my best. And I'm really loving what I'm doing.
So let's talk about you and who you are and who shapes you. So you're obviously a twin. I'm sure everyone knows that. You've got an older brother, Chris.
Yeah.
How influential have they been in shaping who you are today?
They're my two best friends. Like, obviously, my twin sister Jess is my fraternal twin. We're not identical, but she is like my permanent best friend. You know, whenever anything is good or anything is bad, it doesn't really matter because I've always got Jess. We used to say when we were like laying in bed together, it doesn't matter if we don't have any friends, just as long as we've got each other, and it's true. So through life, it's just like I've always had my rock and it's always been Jess. And now living in Melbourne and my family are all situated up in Brisbane now, she's like my biggest help. So she's almost like Georgie's second mum. So yeah, she is the best. And obviously my older brother, Chris, is someone that I'd always looked up to as a young, little girl, and we'd always wrestle with him, and he kind of got us that like rough side to us, and that competitive edge, kind of got that from Chris. And now, whilst we probably weren't as close when we were little, now we're each other, like we're all each other has. And so Chris is someone that I call almost, and I try to call him every day, but I'm probably so annoying, but we actually love talking to each other, and sometimes we're on the phone for like hours, but we genuinely have the best bond, the three of us. And yeah, like I want to have that for Georgie. So hopefully in the future.
Let's talk about Adam, though. Now, sports people in both your own rights, and we'll get to that a bit later, but give us an insight into you two at home. What's it like to juggle him being an athlete, you doing what you're doing, Georgie? It's a household that's got plenty going on, but how much of a rock is he to you, and what's this relationship like?
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a busy household. And to be fair, we hadn't been living together for around, 4 or 5 years. So to come back and live with Adam and Georgie, it's a rude shock. Like, yeah, you got to share your space with someone else. And it was just like we were dating again. So trying to get used to that, having his help and knowing that I can leave G with him, it's just, that I was like, oh, I can actually, go and get my nails done. Or, like I didn't really have that generosity when I didn't have Adam. So having him and just being together as a family, it's just the best. And, Georgie loves her dad. She loves him so much. She loves her dad time, and she loves the fact that she can go to footy with him. And she, like, Adam does a bit of coaching on the side. She goes to Noble Park. She thinks she's so cool because she gets to rock up with dad and just, be a part of the boys. And just seeing her face light up and, watching them wrestle and things like that. It's like, that's all I've ever wanted. And, when we finally got that opportunity to be together as a family, it just meant we could settle and just finally, like, think about what we really want to get done in the future. We haven't even, we're engaged. We've been engaged for nearly 8 years. So there's a lot of exciting things ahead. And it's just been amazing being under the same roof.
Well, it's the true test of life gets in the way, and you've got your own plans and things that you're doing, but it's a testament to your relationship that you've ended up where you've ended up. And we will talk about all of the challenges that have come with you trying to pursue your own netball and Adam with his football. But let's talk about Georgie. Is there a favourite parent in the household? Is it Adam?
I always try to sneakily ask her, who's your favorite? She's so she's like, I love you both equal.
That's good.
And I'm like, you can tell me, Dad's yeah. And she's like, no, Mum, I love you both equal. I'm like, okay.
So she was born in March 2020, the day Melbourne went into COVID-19 lockdown.
Yeah.
It was an insane time for you, probably.
Just crazy.
Talk us through that chapter, the birth of Georgie, COVID lockdown, how the first few months looked.
God, you're taking me back now. God, I remember it clearly. I don't remember the lockdown so much because obviously I was having some contractions at the time. And so when that was all kind of unfolding, that was when, partners were not being allowed in the room. And I was probably one of the only ones that were left allowed to have Adam in the room with me. And so whilst that was all happening in the outside, I was like so lucky that I had Adam there because, it was a pretty horrible time for mums who were giving birth that year. And I was one of the lucky ones. So whilst it was a challenging period, it was actually an incredible and an amazing period for both Adam and I and Georgie. We were in our little bubble. Adam got the opportunity to spend 7 weeks at home with his newborn baby. And then, obviously we got to travel together and be up in the hub in Twin Waters where we were situated with Collingwood. And they were playing from the hub up in Sunny Coast. It was, amazing. Which I don't really like saying because obviously you felt for so many of, the people back down in Melbourne. And my sister was one of them. She was on the phone to me, calling me, well, I'm just so unhappy. I would just want to come up and be with you. And whilst you are happy, whilst I was happy up in my little bubble, I was really feeling for the people back down in Melbourne.
Yeah, it was a hard time, but I'm sure Georgie brought a lot of joy to you guys during a really tough period for everyone. How has motherhood changed you? You said you're in your mum era at the moment. How has motherhood changed you for the better? And what have been the challenges of being a parent?
Yeah, I mean, Adam and I had like this bit of a realization moment. We went to Laura Geitz's Hall of Fame dinner and we just, we were surrounded by some incredible, heroes that we'd look up to in the room. And we just kind of looked at each other and we were like, you know what, like more so for me, but I have achieved everything I wanted to and more playing netball. And we just kind of had this moment where it was like, okay, everything we do now is just more about Georgie and kind of what we want, not what we want her to be, but what she wants to do, what she wants to dream and be. And we just want to invest more of our time into her. And I feel like for me, it's more on me because I'm obviously retired and Adam still wants to play footy for as long as he can, which I'm so supportive of. But even he was like, we've just got to put more time into Georgie and allow her to have big dreams just like we did.
She is full of life. I feel like looks like a little Adam, but she's also very much your personality. Now, I've had the pleasure of spending some time with you. You are very fun. You are outgoing, loud. You love to dance. You love to sing. Is that what she brings to your household as well? Give us a little insight into Georgie's personality. Hey, what makes you the most proud to be her mum?
Oh, Kels, it's so funny you say that because, I feel like I'm not like once you know me, I'm very outgoing. But then when I meet people, I'm quite, shy or I'm like, I've got my guard up. So when we go to the park, Georgie's just like meeting people and like going up to like random mums and be like, Mum, this can be your new friend. And I'm like, oh my gosh, now I have to walk over and go and talk. And she's just so outgoing and just, yeah, like it just brings life to kind of everything that we do. And even at school, when I go to school, pick up and drop off, you know, if someone's sad or in the corner, she'll just be the first person to go over and put her arm around or ask if they're okay. Or I'm like, Georgie, we need to go now. And she'll come to me straight away after one little conversation. You know, I'm like, when mummy tells you that we've got to go, like, be that good kid and come speak when I say we've got to go. And now she's doing it. And then the mums look at me and they're like, I love how Georgie listens to you. I'm like, good girl. And I had one real strong, stern conversation with her in the car. But she's just, yeah, she's such a good girl. Like, I'm very proud of kind of where she is at the moment and hopefully where she will go.
I'm excited for everything that Georgie is to become, and it could be a netballer, it could be a footballer, we don't know. But let's talk about your transition into the role at the AFLW program at Melbourne Football Club. It's a new role for you. It's something you've been around, but probably on the other side as a player. Now you are instilling advice and confidence into these girls. What's the best part of the role and what are you enjoying most about being able to be that point of contact?
Yeah, I mean, exactly like you said, kind of doing it from afar, being Adam's support. So now actually being in the role and being able to support these amazing women, I love it. You know, my last year actually at the Firebirds, I felt like when I had my back surgery and kind of that little period of rehab, I was forced to be in that role and be that support person. So I had a little bit of practice in my last year. And then when the opportunity came to be the player development manager for the AFLW, the Melbourne Football Club, I was like, oh, how funny is that, how, you know, stars align. And so when I got the job, I was really excited, and obviously it was new and fresh and I had so much to learn, but you have so many awesome contacts. We've got like a PDM kind of WhatsApp chat where you connect with all the other clubs and you get to kind of, you know, get ideas from each other and network and things like that. And so, yeah, whilst I'm still learning the ropes, I'm loving, you know, bringing in my experience of, you know, how to rock up to game day and calm your nerves and, you know, leadership and things like that. So currently running a leadership program with the group and loving doing that, have a lot of support within the club and, you know, the access that these girls have to, I'm kind of envious because as a netballer, we didn't have that. And so I'm like, you know, like kind of not forcing it on them, but I'm like, nah, you guys have so much support. You have access to so much stuff. Like, I'm just encouraging them and helping them find that balance whilst they're playing and working through their football careers.
When you look at the AFLW players and the netballers and all of the things that you had to go through in your career, you've had selection, you've had non-selection, you've been thrust into big moments before you've done other things, you've had challenges. Is it a lot of that you are trying to tell them about and try and give them your experience? Is it a little bit of, this is what I had to go through and this is how I dealt with it?
Yeah, without saying it kind of like that, it's like I do mention to some of them, you know, what my first contract was and how lucky you are to sign on the contract that you were signing on and how far the game's come. And you know, you think back to, you know, our first years in the netball system and you thought like 18 grand was massive and you were like, oh my gosh, but then you had to pay rent, you had to get your groceries, pay for petrol and learn how to budget and things like that. And so I'm like, you don't realize how lucky you are. And so I kind of just, yeah, bring them back down to earth, but then also say like plan, work, study, like prioritize that off-field component and then help with the on-field component and the professionalism side of that as well.
It's a perfect time to move to quarter two, where we dive headfirst into your netball journey. Thanks to Cobram Estate, Australia's most awarded extra virgin olive oil, grown, harvested and first cold pressed in Northern Victoria. Now, this journey spans a long time and it is one of the most incredible journeys I've probably been able to witness. I watched you prior to being involved in a team with you, and then I watched you from afar as we took our journeys in different places. But yours started pre-ANZ, pre-SSN, all the way back in New South Wales. I think everyone thinks that you're from Queensland, but she's from New South Wales, everyone.
I know.
She's New South Wales born and bred. It's a time that you're getting involved into netball, you're loving it. But there's setbacks. There's missing out on teams. You didn't make the state team 2 years in a row. You thought, I'm going to give this away. It's not for me. We now look back on that and it's hilarious because of what you've achieved. But talk us through how you dealt with those setbacks all the way back in when you didn't know what you were going to become in netball.
Yeah, let's go back there. I think, I've told this story many times, obviously missing out when I was younger. And it wasn't until, I really, really wanted to play for the New South Wales state team that I thought, oh, I'm going to give it a real crack. And then, I trialed and I had so many people coming up to me saying, oh, you're in. And I, got my hopes up and I was really excited. And I, went on the Netball New South Wales website that morning, the next morning, and kind of looked at the lists, saw my name wasn't there, refreshed the page, was like, I haven't updated it yet. And I didn't see my name there. And it wasn't until that moment where it just hit me, like my heart kind of like jolted a little bit. It was like a sinking feeling. And my sister was in the bed next to me and she could tell I was upset. She's like, what's wrong? I was like, oh, I missed out. I didn't make the team. And she's like, oh, this is no big deal. I was like, oh, to me, it's a big deal. Anyways, from that moment, from that setback, because the year before I didn't really care if I'd missed out or not. Mum just kind of put my name up. So this was the second year in a row that I'd missed out. But this time I really wanted it. And it wasn't until I'd missed out this time that I thought, I've got to do more. Like, I've got to do more while no one's watching. And so I made my high school teacher I made my dad film my netball games at State League. And then I would take that film and give it to my high school teacher and she'd go through it with me. And then we'd work on the things that I needed to work on in that game. And so I was doing all these things that, just went above and beyond so that I knew that I had no stone unturned. I knew that I did everything that I could so that if I did miss out the next year, then I wouldn't be as disappointed because I just wasn't good enough. So, I did extra runs and gym sessions and then the following year, trialed again, but this time just blocked everything out. I trialed really well, went on the website again the next morning and then I saw my name and it was almost like disbelief. So I refreshed again and it was definitely there. And so I guess from that moment of missing out and having that setback, it just instilled this fire in me that no, I'm never going to give up and I'm going to prove people wrong. And so that kind of just set me up for my journey and to where I am now. So
you are one of the most headstrong people that I have played in a team with. And that comes with determination, your grittiness, your endeavor to just be as fit and as strong and as fast and the best that you can be, I think was a credit to probably the setbacks that you had. But moving towards your professional career, you've also done something that I think blows my mind more than anything else. The fact that you debuted for your country, you played for Australia, you put that dress on prior to even putting on a Firebirds dress, prior to playing ANZ and SSN. That is almost unheard of. How did all of this come about? I know Lisa Alexander saw you, liked you, and then elevated you to the Diamonds. You're stepping into a world that you're not aware of, but you took it with both hands. You were incredible in the Diamonds environment. How does that happen? How do you play for your country before playing for your state?
I guess, and this is something that I say to, young girls when I take like coach clinics and stuff, you just never know who's watching. And so you always got to put your best foot forward and always give 100%. Any game that you're playing, you just got to try. And so I remember the Diamonds came in at the AIS. I was living there at the time and they have camps at the AIS. And I remember there was an opportunity where they needed a wing defence or a mid-court to step up. And Lisa picked me and Gabby to come in and play with them. And I just remember getting that opportunity. And that was my first thought was I just need to give it 100%, and just have a real crack. I get to play with the best of the best. And all these women are my idols. And, it may not ever happen again. So I did that. And I think from that game, I think she saw a liking in me or saw a bit of an ability in me. And then I remember being away in Jamaica on under 21s Oz tour, one of the best tours, getting a phone call. And then Carol Byers, our coach, and Anita Killen at the time was like, Rav, we need you to come to our room. And I'm a goody two-shoes, right? So I thought I was in trouble. And I've gone in and I'm like, oh, what's happened? And they're like, oh, we've got someone on the phone for you. And I was like, oh, okay. So mum, dad, everything okay? And picked up the phone and it was Lisa Alexander. Hi, Kim. It's Lisa Alexander. Sorry, Lisa. We're putting on your mic. But hi, Kim. It's Lisa Alexander, Australian Diamonds coach. Just wanted to let you know you've been selected for the Australian Diamonds tour, heading over to the UK. And I was like, what? What do you mean? Like, just in shock. And we obviously said a few F-bombs, but and then Carol and Anita offered me wine on tour, and I was like, am I allowed? Like, celebratory wines, but it was just such a surreal moment, and yeah, one that I hold close to my heart, will always remember. And I got to share it with, all the girls that are still currently playing now in the SSN, but yeah, just to share it with them and them to be so happy for me as well. And yeah, it was just such an incredible time.
Your Diamonds experience is one that is very important to you, but I'm sure your time at the Firebirds is also something that is incredibly important to you. Now, you lose back-to-back grand finals. You shape up for the 2015 season. I know that there was a lot of hard conversations being had around how do we go that step further? How do we actually win the big one? Having lost two, how did that prepare you for 2015, 2016, which we now know you won back-to-back premierships in? What was that learning like?
Yeah. So it was such an amazing span over 4 years in the Firebirds, in the purple dress. And, the first 2 years we were so talented. We were the underdogs, no one really rated us. However, proving people wrong and never giving up always came through. But we could never get, the win at the end. And so we had this like piece of paper script kind of culture written for us that had no resignation to the group at the time. And so we thought, let's, scrunch it up, throw it away and start fresh and create something that's going to be really special for this group and that we're all really going to live and breathe and make sure that we bring it to life. And then, hopefully the culture that we've created gets us over the line in the end. And so I just remember clearly sitting in a room, staff and players included. We all broke up into small groups. And we were such a simple group. We didn't need like paragraphs of words. We just needed something simple that we could remember and that we could go back to in moments where it was really tough. And so, I just remember sitting with Laura Geitz and Claire McMiniman at the time. And, it was really simple. Like, all right, let's picture ourselves as, little twigs. What do we need to become trunks? We need to be fueling really well. We need to be doing the hard yards in the gym, all the little 1%ers. It's like, okay, that's great. So we do the preseason. We do that. We turn from twigs to trunks. And then it's like, okay, what do we do from there? Then we've got to, we call it so twigs are the fibers. So we've got to fuel with our nutrition. Make sure that we're, not going out partying too much. Not eating bad food, but fueling our bodies so that we can come in and train at 100%. And then on the court, we would designate our third quarter as igniting. That's the championship quarter. This is where we ignite. This is where we come together. So you ignite the flames, pour the petrol on the little twigs, you ignite it, you ignite the flames, and then the last quarter, you burn them off the court. It's not about just winning the game. It's about smashing them, right? And winning. And so Firebirds fuel, ignite, burn. I remember it so clearly because it's so simple.
10 years on.
10 years on. And it was the best damn thing that, I can think of. The best culture. And so simple for that group. And it won for us. And it proved to win because we did it twice. So that's it. That's the recipe.
That's the recipe. And it's great that 10 years on, you remember it. It sits so clearly with you as something that was true. How much does that impact or play in your life now? Is that something that you take through now with parenting Georgie, with your work? Is that something that you go back to?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I won't get into my birth story, but I looked at the part where you push Georgie out as the last 15 minutes. Like, gotta get this done.
This is the burn him off the court.
The doc was so impressed.
You are absolutely brilliant. There's a couple of names that you've mentioned from the Firebirds, though, that I know have had a huge impact on you as a person and your career. Laura Geitz being one of them, Claire McMiniman. Can you talk about how they have impacted you, and Gayatri is still one of your closest friends, isn't she?
Yeah, absolutely. They're just both of them are both incredible women, and I was so lucky to have them as leaders when I was a young pup coming through the system. To have two really great people that I could look up to, people that I could draw from, and then mold kind of my own leadership from them. Not only were they my leaders, but they're just beautiful people, and people that I hold close to my heart and are really good friends for me now. And there is an age gap, but it doesn't matter. Like, we're on the same level, and that's what Gayatri and Claire always brought in. It doesn't matter how many games that you've played. It doesn't matter how old you are. We're all equal, and you're all a big part of this team, so you all have a voice. And just from that moment, I just felt instantly out of my box, and that I could say what I wanted to say. That's what they instilled in us young kids.
So you go from Firebirds, where everything's humming, and then you come down to Collingwood. Now, I think it's no secret that Collingwood wasn't what anyone who stepped into those walls thought it was going to be. You were one of the marquee players when they first signed on. You take a deep breath, because I feel like you know that this is a hard time for you, and a big change from going from Queensland to Melbourne. It's a different environment. We're a part of a football club first and foremost, and then a netball team that comes after that. The enticement and the excitement of moving down there was huge.
Yeah.
And not the environment maybe that you thought it was going to be.
Yeah, you're right, Cass. And it's funny you mention how clear the Firebirds journey was for me. I remember it clearly. The Collingwood side's a bit of a blur, so it's like I wanted to kind of forget about it. But you're right. It was an opportunity that any player, if you'd looked at the opportunity that I got, would not turn down. I had achieved everything I wanted to and more at the Firebirds. And to be honest, my netball was going up. However, my life and off field was just plateauing. And I was just like kind of bored, and just, I needed something. I needed a challenge. I needed to be uncomfortable again. I was too comfortable. And I feel like any athlete, you always want to challenge yourself and grow. And I felt like this was the perfect time. I sat down with Laura Geitz and Claire, and I told them, and they said, at the end of the day, it's your decision, and we'll be proud of you regardless. And so I made that decision, based on a lot of conversations I had with my really close circle. And I thought, I'm going to take the jump and move down to Melbourne, away from the sun. And so I did. And exactly like you said, it was a bit of a tough time on the court. I would say, I came from an environment where I was embraced, and my uniqueness was embraced, and I wasn't, molded into someone that I'm not. And so I came down into Melbourne thinking that I could do the exact same. And then, I don't know, I was just kind of made to change, and had to change kind of my style of play. And I just was, I didn't really understand why they wanted me. And so I just went back into my box. And so, I just kind of changed a bit when I come down to Melbourne. I lost a bit of confidence in my own game and, my feed. And I just didn't back myself the way I did. So I needed to do a fair bit of work off field on my mental. Off field, off court.
Of course. Really in the Melbourne Footy Club role. Love it. Talk about that off-court mental side of things. It's a huge part of what makes professional athletes who they are. For you, it was a dark time.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you find your way out of it? And who were the most influential people when you were down in Melbourne to sort of bring you back out of your box, back into the confidence of who you are, and make sure that you were actually okay as a person before the athlete?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny how, when one thing isn't going right, a little shining light kind of pops up, and I guess that was Adam for me. And so I met my fiancé, Adam Trelaw, at the Collingwood Football Club at a time where I thought, there's no way I'm going to meet anyone. And, as a professional athlete, you just don't have time to go date someone, and I was that person. I was like, Maddie, your sister used to laugh at me because I had like a moth fly out under my chair kind of thing. And I was like, no, it's not like that. I just, I don't want to be dating. I'm just, I'm so focused. I'm such a committed athlete that any like opportunity to date someone, like I'd have plenty of direct messages, but I just couldn't be bothered. And then I just remember when I spoke to Adam, when I went up to him and I kind of had our first conversation, it just flowed. It was so easy. And I was like, oh, we have so much in common that I actually would like to get to know you a bit more. And I remember him, and now we talk about it because it's funny. He was so damn nervous when I came up to him. He was like, I say this, but I'm like, this is from his mouth. He was like, you were the most beautiful person looking woman, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I just was in shock that you came up and spoke to me. And I was like, no, flattered. But yeah, it was just a time where I just needed someone to lean on, and then he was that person. And being at the same club, kind of going through the highs and lows, we'd win one week and the boys would lose and it was like someone had died, and so it was just like trying to be there for each other, and it was really just perfect for what I needed. But yeah, in terms of my netball and my mental and feeling like I was just underwater and trying to gasp for air, I did a fair bit of work with a psychologist and making sure that I was focusing on me and making sure that, like netball is a big part of your life, but we've got to make sure that the person is thriving. And so I really focused on myself as a person away from netball, and being happy off the court is what helped me get through that challenging time at Collingwood.
It's so refreshing to hear people talk about the challenges that come with professional sport and utilizing psychs. And I think the sooner we break down the stigma of that is weakness, or that is something that not everyone is doing. I can tell you right now that all professional athletes have access to psychs and they utilize them for different reasons. It doesn't mean that you need to be in a hole to get out of one. But yeah, it's refreshing to hear you talk about that and utilizing people in that field to be able to pull yourself out of tough moments, because there are plenty in life and in sport. We'll talk about the commentary around your relationship and moving back to Firebirds and the challenges that presented as well. But let's talk about you going back to the Firebirds. So you have Georgie, and then you find your way back to Queensland and back where it all started for you. Yeah. That first year back at the Firebirds, was it hard to find your footing again?
No.
Dear,
it wasn't. However, it was very different. Like I'd come back and I was like, whoa, what's changed? And I was thinking it was going to be the exact same. However, just completely different. I'd just come off having Georgie. So it was about 10, 11 months post having Georgie. I went back into the Firebirds environment, and having Georgie gave me this whole new perspective of, performance. And I would go into that environment. So I would leave G at home with my mum, who came up with me to help me achieve my dream of playing for the Firebirds again. And I would walk into the doors knowing that far out, I get to play netball again. How exciting is this? So that first year back, it was just, I had no leadership role. It was just like I get to come in and play netball again and just be around a group of girls. And it was just so much fun. And so playing that year was the best. And, win or lose, like the after impact wasn't as big, because I would look to the crowd and I would just see Georgie and I was like, damn, how good's life? I get to go home and play with my little girl.
And you had an MVP year the first year you returned to the Firebirds. So it speaks highly of what was happening off the court really impacted on the court.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then you move into a leadership role the next year. You signed as well.
Yeah.
Tough.
Yeah. It was, Gabby had actually stepped down. So it wasn't like I got voted in. Well, I got voted in, but it was more off Gabby wasn't in line to get voted or picked as captain. So she'd stepped down, and really the only other option was me. And I was kind of like, damn, because I was like, oh, I just wanted to kind of carry on and not really have too many responsibilities. But also, what an honor to then captain the Firebirds, a team that, I cherish and love so much. That first year doing the captaincy, I had a lot to learn. I wasn't ready to just put my captain hat on. I had a lot of learning to do and how to lead, and, so that first year was quite a challenge. And so then the next year, when I did get voted in again, I had a mentor. And so I had someone that I could talk to about building my leadership skills, making sure that, I had to build relationship with my teammates. It wasn't about coming in, doing the job and then getting out. It was spending more time there. You just had to spend more time at the club. And so that became a bit more of a challenge for me, because it was like, okay, now I need to balance Firebirds and coming home to my daughter. What is my priority here? So it was just weighing up that. And so, yeah, I did find it challenging. But then I had like the support of my vice captain and my coaches and things like that. But then the fun side of the netball started to dwindle down again. And so, yeah.
That last year that you were involved in the Firebirds, I think you would say wasn't the year that you wanted it to be in terms of how you were being played, injuries, where you sort of sat in the group, potentially seeing writing on the wall that maybe you weren't needed anymore, a different version of the Kim Rav that we'd all grown to see and love, and also the challenges of everything that was happening with the Firebirds off the court, and you were thrust into the middle of that. How does that sit with you now when you've got some time and space in between that last year with you at Firebirds? But is there anger around it? Is there frustration with how it all ended? Or is it you're content?
I wouldn't say I'm like angry. I would just say I'm disappointed, like there's not one part of me that wanted any of that to happen, and trying to please people and, please everyone and make sure everyone's okay. It's impossible. And so, and being the captain, that all kind of falls on you. And so, yeah, you take it to heart a bit. And it took me the 12 months to kind of get over it. I was in a bit of a rut, and, I experienced so much, mental sadness that, yeah, it took me a good 12 months. I'm probably only like 6 months on feeling like I'm back, back to being myself and rejuvenated and energized again, because I was just exhausted. On top of that, being a mum, and yeah, if I could change a few things, I would. But do you know what? I knew I was ready to be done. I literally looked in the mirror and asked myself why I'm doing it. And it wasn't because I wanted to play netball anymore. I did not want to play anymore. I was just there purely because of the girls. And I was like, why am I doing this? I want to be a mum. I want to be a mum. Netball is not fun for me anymore. And so, yeah, it was a sad, sad time, because physically I was just getting back from injury and I was feeling good again. But mentally, I was like, nah, I just don't have the love for it anymore. And it's time for the dress to be moved on, my dress to be moved on to the next person in line. And hopefully I've done a bloody good job. But at the time, I didn't feel like I did. So that was a bit sad. But you know what? I don't take back or, think less of my career because of that one little stint. Absolutely not. I look back at my career and I think how freaking lucky I am to have achieved what I have in the 11 or 12 years that I played professionally. I got to have a kid in the middle of it. And, some people don't get to do that. And, win championships. Some people don't get to do that. I've done that. I got to win a gold medal. Like, who does, like, it's just, I'm still in disbelief with it. And, I get to tell Georgie that one day, and that's something I can hold close to my chest and be really proud of.
You should be very proud of who you are and how you came through your career, because I know that there's a lot of people out there that loved watching you play, Rav. But just to wrap all of this up, and let's try and finish on a positive, because I know that's how you view your career. Diamonds, Firebirds, New South Wales state teams, was touched on all of it. You've spent time at the AIS Collingwood. You had to summarise your career in a couple of words or one sentence. How would you summarise your career?
I've won. I'm a winner. I'm a winner.
I could cry at that. Before we get a bit deeper, let's add a little bit of sugar thanks to Strutties. Gear up this season with Strutties. Shop with Strutties because they are your buddies. Strutties.com.au. Ravi, we've got a fast break section. So quick fire, quick answers. We'll kick it off. Favourite SSN team dress that you've ever worn?
Ooh, ever worn. Okay. Oh, Firebirds.
Firebirds? Yeah. Is there one of them that you liked? Was it a waist strip?
Definitely the purple, like dark purple.
Okay, yeah. Loved it. One player, past or present, you'd love to play with?
Past or present? Oh, I would love to play with Sophie Garvin.
Oh,
Never got the opportunity. Only got the opportunity at one camp, and I was like, damn, this girl can cat. My feeds from like the transfers. But yeah, never got the opportunity.
I love that take. Most underrated teammate you've ever had?
Most underrated teammate, God, Halita Veve.
Why?
Oh, she is just a smooth operator and like never really stood out to coaches, I would say, until later in her career. But she was like the reason why so many players got intercepts because of her hard work, her footwork. She's insane.
Shout out to Helita too. She's also a mum, so we love both of you for that. Best piece of advice you've ever been given?
It's from my dad. If you love something, you got to go for it.
One superstition or ritual you had to do before a game. Are you superstitious?
No, I'm not superstitious, but things I did before games, just dance and let loose, get the nervous energy out, sing, whatever, be an idiot. But yeah, it was just to get that nervous energy out and then focus.
You can answer this how you want. The favourite moment of your career so far?
Oh, there's so many, but I would say to date, the favourite moment of my career would be the birth of my daughter, Georgie.
And lastly, if you could relive one game, which one would it be and why? Now, I love this question because it can be a game that you lost and you want to go back your toe in, or it can be a game that you just love playing in.
Go on, now I've got two answers.
You can give them both.
Okay, we'll go. I would love to go back and play my 100th game where we lost by 40 against Sunshine Coast.
Was I in the team?
You were with me, but like, what a game. And I was like, gosh. And I played Laura Langman, who was my idol. And she was like, oh, Rav. I was like, yeah, it's embarrassing, really. Oh, it would be 2015 grand final when we beat the Swifts in the dying seconds of the game by 1 goal.
I know, you only get to experience that feeling.
I make
one. I don't know.
Watch it.
Love.
And like,
how often?
Best sporting moment, watch. Oh, because he actually watches highlights all the time.
We did clip this up. Now we've had our little sugar piece, little sugar hit. It's time to get into this tough stuff. We know that with professional sport comes a lot of challenges. Now there's two that I really want to hit on. The first one we mentioned prior in the episode, and it's about the commentary that surrounded you chasing your dreams, returning to the Firebirds after having Georgie, and the headlines that came with it. Now, one very close to my heart, I feel like I'm living and breathing it 10 years after you, but you're not a wag.
Oh, no.
You're not just that.
Yeah.
You are a professional sports person in your own right. And Adam, we love what you've achieved, but I would be hard pressed to find anyone that said that in your household, you are the most successful athlete. Now, you were chasing your dreams of moving back to the Firebirds and being able to play netball again. And let me read you some of the headlines. Wag's move prompts club to cut AFL star. Collingwood does not believe Adam Treloar can be an elite footballer while his partner, netballer Kim Ravaillion, and infant daughter are living in another state. Collingwood openly admitted to trading a player because of his wife's netball career. You hear some of those. How do they sit with you?
Yeah, you're bringing up a lot of pretty harsh memories. At the time, we were really in our little bubble at home trying to block it all out, and it took a lot of me to not bite back. But you know what happened in that moment? The netball community came alive. I just remember being tagged and reposted and shared on socials, and it was that article, Adam Treloar's wag, fiance, whatever. And I was like, well, what's happening? Like, I was too busy with my newborn, essentially. And then this was happening. And I was like, damn, so much support for me. How cool is that? So I started sharing. I shared everything I was tagged in. There was probably like 250 shares. And I just felt like, holy crap, like netball's coming alive here. Netball's got my back. And that's why I was like, damn, I'm going to go back to the Firebirds and play netball. So that support in the community that I had around me, I was like, I felt so just, supported.
I know that some people love the title WAG, and that is absolutely fine for those people. How does that title sit with you? Because I feel like you would view yourself as a lot more than a wife and a girlfriend.
Oh, absolutely. I've never looked at myself as a wag. I barely even know what it means. And to be honest, I've connected with some other girlfriends and wives, and they're amazing people. I look at them as humans. I don't look at them as wags. And some of them are, some of my closest friends. And I would never look at myself as just Adam's partner. I'm his best friend. I am his biggest support. I am also living and breathing my own career, making sure that I'm here for him. He's doing the same for me. So that title means absolutely nothing to me.
Does it burn a fire in you with raising a daughter to show her that mum and dad can chase their dreams and go after what they want to do, and instilling in her that she can have the right to do that as well?
Oh, damn straight. Like, the reason behind me going up and chasing my dreams was to allow Georgie to see both mum and dad be elite athletes and play on the main stage. And so the fact that she's got to witness that, we're like, damn, goal achieved. And so hopefully that's instilled some, motivation, inspiration in Georgie. It's not really that great with catching a netball.
Yes, that's all right.
However, we'll work on it. But no, that was part of the reason. We just wanted to be really good role models, really good prime examples for Georgie for when she grows up and gets older.
I think you're doing an incredible job at that. And I, from afar, wasn't around you, but watched that whole thing happen and just thought, amazing inspiration to women and girls and young boys as well, who might get told that they can't chase their dreams, and you're just going ahead and doing it despite all of the commentary and the negativity that surrounds it, when it really shouldn't be. It should have been celebrating you returning as a mother and going back to a sport that you are one of the best at. Another one of your challenges, now that we've parked all of the tough stuff that revolved your relationship with you, was your spinal surgery.
Oh, yeah.
That is insane when you just say it in a sentence. You've had spinal surgery. That is such a critical part of your body. And for someone who is very active, you would get up almost every single day and exercise. I know that's a huge part of your routine. How difficult was it to be bedridden with spinal surgery?
Yeah, it was one of the most challenging times in my life. Being told to stop. And I was like, damn, what do you mean I can't get up and run? I remember going in, it was just one night I woke up in the middle of the night and I just had this shooting pain down my leg. It was like a sciatic pain. And I just thought, oh yeah, slip disc, been there, done that.
I love that you're like, oh yeah, oh good.
Pain threshold's right up here. However, I went to the toilet and this felt like weakness in my leg. Not when you fall asleep and you just get pins and needles and you're just numb and you just shake it and it comes back. It didn't come back. And the next day I had drop foot. And so I was walking around and I had no function in my left foot. And then I remember having Emily Moore and Lara Dunkley over at the time. I was like, well, my foot, I can't even flex it. It's just dead, sitting there. Couldn't flex it. I was trying so hard, willpower in my brain to get my foot back up, but I just couldn't. Anyways, we had scannings with physio doctor and stuff. And so I went in, saw Talia, our physio at the time, and she was doing all the general tests, and she was like, oh, go see Martin. And I was like, oh, do you think it's bad? And she's like, oh, I just reckon you should go see Martin. I was like, oh, okay. So I went and saw Martin. He was doing all the tests. He's like, I reckon we put you in for an MRI. He's like, I reckon we'll get you in tonight. And I was like, okay.
It's not what you want to hear as an athlete. No. When you're going in quickly, it's not good.
No, and so then went in 9:30 that night. I couldn't even stay still in the MRI because my leg was just going crazy. It was just twitching. And I was like, fuck, do I have to re-image my leg or spine, whatever? I thought it was my leg. And then got the results the next morning, booked straight in to see a surgeon. Surgeons do a calf raise. I did a calf raise and my ankle defunct. And Mum and Lara were like, ah. And I was like, what happened? I didn't feel it. Yeah. And so he's like, we need to get you in. You've ruptured your L4, L5, herniated disc sliding down and hitting your L4, L5 nerves. And so that's why it's shaking, because it's just sitting there. And so went in 2 days later, Monday, had the surgery and got all the gunk out and rehab started.
Wow. So you hear that you've got spinal issues. Does it scare you?
Oh, big time. Scared me so much because I need to be able to pick up Georgia as we carry future babies. That's the first thing that went into my head was life flashed before my eyes. And I was like, oh gosh, how important is netball to me? Because at that time I still loved the game. And then luckily everything happens for a reason. The year panned out to be quite a shitty one. So helped me make my decision in the end. But yeah, it was a really tough time, but I'd never been in rehab before.
Yeah, right.
12 to 15 weeks in rehab. I'd never had a serious injury in my whole career of playing netball, and that was my first big stint on the sideline. It was in pre-season. So obviously my goal was to get back on round 1.
Yeah.
Which was my 150th game. So I did my best to get back for that and the journey, but the support I had from Kelly, my strength and conditioning lady at the time, and then Talia, my physio. Best 2 women I had to support me along my rehab journey.
You didn't need to learn any more about resilience, but I'm sure that rehab taught you a lot, more resilience than you thought that you needed. Let's segue though into quarter 4, because that is a great way to end this. Let's start quarter 4 thanks to HCF. The first question is the HCF moment that matters. Now I know this probably lights you up because a legacy piece is something that I feel like you have been very aware of what you wanted to leave. You speak about Georgie and moving forward, but quarter 4, if you were to talk about the legacy that you think that you've left on Australian netball, what do you think it is?
Oh, gosh, it's always hard trying to think about what legacy I've left, but I hope that it's, that I always gave it 110% when I was out on court. I always made sure that I was the fittest, the fastest, the strongest, the hardest working, the one that never gave up, the one that was always trying to get the loose balls. I never really stood out as such as a standout player, but I was always the one doing the hard work behind the scenes for the ones around me to stand out and get the intercepts. So for me, I've always just been, the one that works the hardest and the hardest worker in the room.
Absolutely worse. I had to do a gym session with you one time. I think I lasted half a session. If you had to give one piece of advice to a young mid-quarter, maybe stepping in to wear the green and gold, what would it be?
I just think that you get to drive your own vehicle at the end of the day, and it doesn't matter how many voices that you hear, you are your own pilot of your own vehicle, and you get to drive that, how fast, how slow. You're just in control. So drive that vehicle the best way you can and achieve greatness along the way.
As you look towards the next chapter of your life, we've touched on potentially more kids, giving Georgie someone to play with. I know you've got puppies. What excites you most about what's still to come for Kim Rav?
Yeah, there is a lot, and I won't be shy about mentioning it, but we have been struggling to fall pregnant, and it is a part of potentially what I did go through in the last 12 months of my netball, going through all that stress and stuff. So we are going through a bit of a fertility journey, which I'm going to attack just like I have my netball career, and we are excited about getting married this year. Woo! Finally engaged for 8 years. So marriage is on the cards, more kids, trying to elevate in my job at the moment. And then hopefully watch Adam play some more AFL games and live out the rest of his career and be his support.
Feels like you are so incredibly well-rounded. Now you know exactly who you are, and I think it really comes out in you. You're so calm and composed and sure of yourself, and I think that's a credit to everything that you've been through, but everything that you've worked hard to become. So it's been an absolute pleasure to sit here and talk to you, Ravi. I feel like our paths have crossed, but it's nice to reflect on the journey that's been for you, and I'm excited for everything that's ahead. So thank you so much for joining us on Centre Court.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been amazing just reflecting.
You are one of the best. All the best for what's ahead. And Centre Court has been brought to you thanks to Cobram Estate, Australia's most awarded extra virgin olive oil, grown, harvested and first cold pressed in Northern Victoria. We have plenty more episodes ahead for you.